how Charlie Horse was set up, and you put your life at risk. So walk us through that a little bit, Giovanni.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was again, it wasn't planned. The FBI didn't turn around and say, all right, it's Monday. Well, let's start an investigation into the decavs. So this was just things that it progressed. And I was like, all right, yeah, I give it a shot. I knew the life. I knew the walk. I knew the talk. I was familiar with it but it almost bit me in the ass later too. Because Luigi called me out one time and says, you walk like us, you talk like us, you're from this area, but where you been your whole life? Yeah. So, I had been questioned and it came up a bunch of different times. So they didn't just open their arms and welcome me in. I had to earn my way. Yeah. And as it progressed, each time I went a little deeper, I was like, shit. Yeah. This isn't going to go well. But there's no turning back. Yeah. What am I going to do? Tap out? They're not going to find somebody else. And, I'm already in it. Well, let's see where it goes kind of thing. And then before you knew it, when I met Charlie, that was it. That was like, we had this instant attraction and, we talked on the phone for a long time before he even shared anything with me. There was that dating period, just like a regular relationship. And then as things went on and I said, all right, and then as I describe in the book, he just one day just stonewalled me. And then I saw how cold he could be. I saw that dark side of Charlie. Wow. He left a message for me and his message would make your skin crawl, just the tone in his voice. And I recognized that from growing up around these guys. Yeah. The knockaround guys and the May guys I saw, having meetings in the neighborhood. You weren't privy to it, but you knew when something was going on, and you knew to get out of the way or stay away. And I got that gut feeling like I was a 10-year-old kid again. And there's no turning back now. This guy's got me. And there's no saying no to this man,
Well, one thing is you touched upon in the book and had a similar kind of ring for Pistone's story is, and I appreciate you being honest about that because, you don't talk about this aspect typically when undercover work, but it was a big strain on your family. And obviously it's not a real name, but your wife, Ann, in the book, or your real wife, big strain on the marriage. How did you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, it's part of the reason why I wanted to write the story. I wanted people to see the risks. I didn't want to write the story to tell it cool. Originally I wanted it to be a teaching point because I had a guy of mine, Bobby Delaney, was a New Jersey State Trooper who did this long before I came along. And that's the only law enforcement book I ever read in my career.
Oh, wow.
And I was drawn to that. And it's funny, right, how things work out because Bobby was in Bayonne when his case. Yeah. So I wanted people to see. I wanted people to have a firsthand look of what we go through as undercovers, law enforcement, but undercovers particularly, because we really can't share that. Yeah. It's not like a lot of guys. So I was very raw. I was very, very raw how I shared my story. My wife, I thought, and a lot of people think she'd have a good understanding because she herself did undercover work.
Law enforcement, yeah.
Not the case. It's like, I know what you're doing.
That all too well.
Yeah, all too well. I know what you're doing. You're living in New York. You're living in Las Vegas. Yeah. So there was a balance. And I thought towards the end, I had it all under control. I'm a seasoned undercover doing this for 20 some odd years. Yeah. I thought I had it all, but I didn't, but yeah, there's that rawness. And I wanted people to see from my perspective and what it did to my family, because it did take a toll on it and still does to this day. I paid a price.
Well, I had a connection to the book too, where, so one of the mentors of Charlie Stango, which Charlie talked a lot about which I want to hear your secondhand information in terms of what he shared, and his reverence for it was Jojo Ferrara. So I played football with his son. He knocked me on my ass. I look up and Jojo helps me up. He goes, "Oh, by the way, you're my cousin." And not like just the Italian cousin sense, like everybody's cousins, but no, his mother is Valadez from the same town as my mother, and she married Jojo. So they met Jojo. Nice guy. He's kind of like a coach for the team. I go back to my mom. I'm like, "Hey, Mom, we're related to Jojo." And my mother's like, "Yeah." And, so right. She got quiet, So like as a kid, I'm like, what's going on here? So I had good experience with him. He was a very nice guy. His son was a gentleman, cousins of mine. He unfortunately passed earlier, but I was surprised to see, not surprised, but that Stango still brought him up and almost thought of him as a mentor. So tell us a little bit about what you heard about Jojo and that kind of fun stuff.
Well, Jojo was on the radar when I was a young detective, when I was a young investigator. And of course, he always came up, and I think you and I had talked about it off. I covered his funeral with the state police and the FBI years and years ago. And it was at Corsentino's, and I remember it. And just to show what you described him, These guys didn't walk around killing people every